My name is Craig Much. We're in Springfield, Illinois, and we're on the tail end of our first sculpture. The first sculpture being the barn, and represents the theme of agriculture. We've been working on it for 6 days now. We got one more day and I'll be gone, and my workmate will be finishing it off, and then another guy will come and start the sculpture that's behind us. We sketch our ideas out beforehand. However, just due to the circumstances, I guess there's a certain amount that you have to wing it, let's say. Just keep it as close as possible to the plan.
You know, people are pretty impressed. Like, for us, it doesn't seem like it's going really fast because we're here every minute, and you know, we're always seeing exactly what goes into it and how long something takes, and sometimes it even feels like it's going really slow. But then people who see it maybe one time a day, just for a minute, they'll be like, wow, you guys got a lot done since yesterday. And sometimes I'll be like, really? Did we? You know, like, it doesn't seem like it. Sometimes you can't tell your progress until like outsiders see it. You know, we build forms in a big circle, kind of like an above ground swimming pool, and nail it together with duplex nails so that we can pull those nails back out again. And we just fill the sand in, you know, about a foot at a time, and we run a machine over it that's like a jackhammer that's got a plate on the bottom, so it packs that sand down.
Well, what we call that the pound up. 'Cause really, that's what you're doing. You're making boxes and you're pounding the sand in there with a gas tamper, and that's to compact it. This is the most important part of any sand sculpture, is actually getting it compacted properly. Because if it's not, it may collapse on you. And that's what you learn over the years, just how to compact the sand properly in a pyramid-like form, because sand will actually collapse itself if it's too vertical, let's say.
So it packs that sand down, and then we hose that sand down and get it really wet. And then we put a smaller form on top of that, fill that one up, pack it down, and just do that all the way to the top. You build it up in levels until you get to the top. And then when you finish the whole pound up, you climb up to the top and you take those top forms off and you can start carving it. You carve it from the top to the bottom, obviously. The sand is good and wet and very compressed, compacted in order to be able to carve it. Otherwise, you really limit your abilities as to what you can carve.
Yeah, no rest for the wicked, man. You know, we did that pound up yesterday, and you know, after using jackhammer and sweating right till 2, and you know, it's 95 degrees out and humid. And then after that, we have lunch, and then basically you have to switch modes, and you go into you're sort of back to your creative artist mode, put the music on. I guess you call it, it's relaxing in a way as well.
Normally, we never carve on the same day that we do a pound up. Like, at that point, we were beat. You know, we were ready to just do something easy and something kind of quiet and mellow, and put on some tunes and just relax. So that was nice. And actually, I had a really nice afternoon carving. I carved those cows over there, and you know, that was an excellent way to finish up the day after doing a pound up. I'm just like a million miles away. I call it putting the blinders on. People can just sense it when you're in the zone. They can see it in your face. You're just, you know, you just get really intense, and nobody bothers you then. They can see it. They can tell that you're in the zone. So, but it's great when you're just carving along, and like every stroke with the tool that you make is perfect, and it doesn't happen a lot. You know, maybe once or twice a day. You gotta have good circumstances. You know, I went and bought this umbrella because the sun was just cooking us, and it makes it pretty tough to get into the zone when you're just, you know, and I sweat a lot as it is, so having all that sun on me doesn't help. People are always like, oh, you guys are out just playing in the sand, and I'm like, man, when I go home tonight, I'm gonna be beat, right? I don't feel like I've been playing all day. For me, playing is like frisbee or softball. This is hard work, I'll tell you what.
Well, there's definitely the top five, and the one would be, what do you put in the sand to keep it together? We usually just joke around and say sweat, patience, and elbow grease, but it's actually just compaction. Another question would be, what happens if it rains? The jokingly question would say, well, we just go and have a beer, but basically the sculpture is very hard. It's not that, you won't get destroyed that much from the rain, and we also spray a sealant on it after it's finished to deflect the rain.
You know, one of the coolest things we did on these other side, we call these pinch-on trees. Some people call them broccoli trees, but we pinch all those on, and it just creates this cool texture. Pretty simple, really. I mean, you just got to carve out like a rough kind of fluffy shape, kind of like a fluffy cloud, and then you can just go back with wet sand and pinch on those chunks. It's a really simple technique, but people are mesmerized by it. They see it, and when they see you carving on it, when they see you actually pinching them on, they're like, oh, but when they don't see you working on it, they look at that and they say, oh my God, what tool did he use for that? They think I've got some crazy tool that like I carved every little hole like individually, and I'm like, no, it's just with my fingers. But then you put that next to a barn that's got this wood grain texture, and then out front you've got the fence, and then the animals, and like all of it working together, it creates a really dynamic sculpture. Whereas if we just did a solid barn, with no extra stuff around it, people would be like, oh, cool, a barn, but like having the trees and the animals gives it scale. People can tell, okay, well, the barn is, it's 1/3 scale, and, the animals, this is where they go in. I think it gives you a better reference about what's going on in the sculpture and stuff like that. But yeah, you have to be diverse as a sculptor. Everybody has their specialty though. Like Craig's specialty is architectural elements, lettering and stuff like that. He did all this fence, a lot of this barn here, and he's really good at that, and he can whip that stuff out. I like to do animals. I'm pretty good at people. You get into these rough, kind of soft shapes, and it's a totally different ballgame. Use reference materials. See, I got my little horse here, so it helps. It's a big difference from working off of a photo.
The hardest aspect is taking your ideas and putting into the sand, and then you've got to sort of deal with the sand qualities. Sand is not very forgiving. You've got to, your ideas have to work with the sand and how it's built up and so on. I guess there's a great institution of people. What I mean is sculptors. I have a whole group of international friends, not only friends at home, but international friends that I only see maybe a few times a year. But it's a good camaraderie. It's like being in a trade or being in the army or something. You belong to a group of friends, and that's what's nice about it. There's not many of us around, and the other thing too is it becomes income. We're getting paid for it as well, paid and travel expenses. So that's another good thing. It's income. Surviving as an artist. Yeah, we look at it as performance art, and it's just a great medium of creativity. And really, it's not just for ourselves, it's for the people, wherever we go, whether it's a fair, a mall, a competition. It's all for people. That's what it's all about, doing it for people.
I like making stuff. I paint, I sculpt, I like to make music. I like to create things, and it's just it's fun for me to do that. And then when you get done, you step back from it and you're like, oh, maybe you made your mark on the world or something like that. Even though I know this is only temporary. If it was made out of stone and somebody was going to find this thing, 2,000 years down the line, that'd be even cooler. Wouldn't it be cool though, like if this thing sat out here and the sun just baked it to the point where it became just a stone, and then some like civilization, 10,000 years down the line, it finds this thing and they're like, look at this. Look at those ancient people. They were cool. They were great artists, Because we find stuff like that even now, go to exotic places and find these ancient artifacts, and wonder about the people who made them.
Anything else you'd like to add, like what you first thought when you saw it, or?
Yeah, I was just wondering how long it would take, like I said earlier, how long it would take to make this thing, and like who the artist is, who made it.
I don't understand how it stays together for the entire length of the state fair.
I think it's
pretty
huge.
cool.
I don't even think it's made of sand.
It's probably took a long time to build it.
There's no way I could do that. There's absolutely no way.
I mean, it would stay together for so long, like, because usually with sand and stuff, they wouldn't stay up,
I don't have, can't even say anything. It's awesome.
Yeah, those trees are like you can see the bark and the leaves and everything. It's really awesome.
The horses are wonderful, you know, especially on the other side where they're entering the barn.
It's awesome.
It doesn't really bother me. Like I said, you know, maybe somebody will find a CD with my images on it, and they'll be able to pop that into a computer and be like, oh, okay, you know. That'd be the only way that would happen.